Coming up in the next hour of local news on Arizona PBS, on Arizona Horizon, a debate between the candidates for Congressional District 9, Democratic incumbent Greg Stanton and Republican challenger Dave Giles. On Cronkite News, the economic impact of adult children returning home to what were empty nesters. And on Break It Down, how to be a better negotiator. All this and more ahead in the next hour on Arizona PBS.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to this election 2020 edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Tonight we feature a debate between the two candidates for Arizona's 9th Congressional District, which is located entirely in Maricopa County and includes Tempe, South Scottsdale, West Mesa, Northwest Chandler, and areas of Phoenix, including Ahwatukee. This debate is a joint effort between Arizona PBS, the Arizona Republic, and KJZZ Radio. And joining me to moderate is Richard Ruelas of the Arizona Republic and Steve Goldstein of KJZZ.
This is not a formal debate. It's an open exchange of ideas, an opportunity for give and take between the candidates. Interjections and even interruptions are allowed, provided that all sides get a fair shake, and we'll do our best to make sure that happens.
Joining us now for tonight's debate in alphabetical order is Republican challenger Dave Giles. He's an economics engineer and business consultant. He worked in the petroleum industry and is a small businessman. Democratic incumbent Congressman Greg Stanton is an attorney and former mayor of Phoenix. And each candidate will now give a 1-minute opening statement with the order determined by random selection. Closing statements will be given in reverse order. And we begin with Dave Giles.
Hello, thank you very much for having me on. I began my career as a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering from Rochester Institute of Technology, where I worked for New York State Electric and Gas Corporation. I shortly moved to Saudi Arabia, working for the largest oil company in the world, Aramco. From there, I earned my MBA from Drexel University, did a little bit of scuba diving, and returned back to the United States. When returning here, I continued my education, so now I have a jet pilot rating. I continued with a Bachelor of Arts degree in theology. I have 2 Masters of Arts degrees in theology, and my doctorate is all but dissertation, and I've been made a reverend. I want to stand for economics, jobs, and security. This is what I want to bring and keep going in Arizona and for America. I love America. I believe in your security. We need to have our strong military. We need to support our first responders. We need to support our police. We need to support our emergency room people. And I support the Second Amendment. I also tell you these things because I'm technically competent because of my degrees. I'm a business-oriented person because I have a business of myself. I'm a federal firearms dealer. The government trusts me. The state trusts me. Thank you very much.
And now we turn to Congressman Stanton for his opening statement.
All right. Thank you very much. It's great to be here tonight. In my 2 years in the United States Congress, I have had one mission: to build an Arizona and America that works for everyone. And that starts by creating a strong economy with good jobs. During my time as mayor, Phoenix led Arizona's economic recovery. Not only did we lead the nation in job creation, we also led the nation in wage growth. That's not easy to do, but we did it. And I bring that bipartisan, get-it-done approach to my role in Congress. And I'm going to continue to work hard to expand access to affordable health care to more and more Arizonas. With that as a focus, we can really lift up middle-class and working-class Arizonas. And you know what? I'm going to be an unapologetic advocate for Arizona. With my bipartisan approach, we've already got a lot done. I supported the USMCA, was one of the leaders there. We've already achieved almost $500 million in infrastructure investment for Arizona. Working across the aisle, we've done more with small business and expanding tourism opportunities, and I'm going to continue to fight for Arizona.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Congressman, we'll start with you. You voted to impeach President Trump. You described him as having a reckless disregard for the separation of powers. Do you think President Trump is unfit for office?
Well, I did make that important vote after reviewing all of the evidence in that case. The charges against the president, of course, were that he had obstructed justice and that he had obstructed Congress. And a review of the evidence, I don't think anyone could come to any other reasonable conclusion that he was guilty of those charges. And so when you make a vote like that, it's an important vote. And you've got to really look in the mirror, look in your conscience, say, what's the right thing to do under these circumstances and not really worry about the politics. And that's what I did under those circumstances. Looking at the full evidence, I felt that the evidence did justify that, and I made that important vote.
Do you think that's a vote that the residents of District 9 wanted you to make?
Look, on an important issue like that, if you're a leader, you've got to look at all the evidence and make the decision that you think is right. Right for the United States of America, and that's what I did. I didn't do any polling. I don't know any polling of what people in my district or the state or the country thought. On an issue of an importance like that, you've got to do what's right and let the political chips fall where they may. That's what I've done throughout my time in politics, is always try to do the right thing for my community and not really worry about the politics. The politics will take care of itself, but I'm always going to be that type of a leader.
Mr. Giles, you have expressed your support for President Trump. Do you think those in District 9 want someone who adheres so closely to Donald Trump?
I believe so. I mean, the impeachment process was a complete waste of time and money. That money could have been better sent to people that needed some COVID relief. President Trump has built the greatest economy in the world until the virus came along, and then he was exceptional with the virus. He responded quickly. He stopped the people from coming in from overseas, from one country, from China. Then he stopped and got criticism from my opponent's party. He stopped travel from other countries, and he got criticism from our opponent's party. He was criticized because he didn't have enough ventilators, but he mobilized our manufacturing so that nobody went out with a ventilator, and he was given, now we can give them to other countries. He's done an exceptional job with the economy. He's brought jobs back. We have the highest pay rate now as we have the tariffs. Jobs are coming home to our country, and our country is getting better all the time. And because of President Trump, we have the largest, and we're going to come back better than when we were before. This virus is nearly done. He has demonstrated through his own personal experience that there is a cure out there. There may be more. He's been cured for it. From the COVID virus.
You believe the president's been cured of COVID?
That's what his doctors are saying. He said he had it. Now he's cured. He's not infectious anymore. He can't get it anymore. This is a good sign. And now he's out on the campaign trail campaigning for the people of America, because I want to serve the people of America, especially the people here in Arizona.
But real quickly, the residents of a Congressional District 9, do they want someone who has been recorded as saying that he downplayed the virus to begin with? Multiple reports saying that he described those in the military as, quote, losers and suckers. This is provocative stuff. Do you think residents want someone in office who goes along with that?
I think our residents are smart enough to realize that you got the media making a mountain out of a molehill on stuff. You're taking things out of context. The man loves America. He's been working hard for America. He loves God. As I do. I'm a man of God as well. My pastors prayed with President Trump before he was a candidate in Trump Tower. We understand that he loves this country, he loves God, and he's working for the American people. He's not working for anything else. He's donating his salary I will donate all of my salary except for what I need to do. I will donate to the veterans, to the American Legion, to the VFW, and wherever my church needs fit that money is needed. I don't need the money.
So you're okay with the president's behavior in office?
I believe so. Yes,
okay.
I'm okay with him. He does some stuff that gets the media upset with him.
Gets the media upset with him. Okay.
All right. Well, this is probably a point of significant disagreement between Mr. Giles and myself. I believe on the issue of COVID and the COVID crisis in the United States of America, the President of the United States sadly has advocated leadership on that important issue. Obviously, we know from the Woodward interviews that he was fully aware of how deadly this virus was early on in the process, and both his public comments and actions thereafter were directly against what he told Mr. Woodward that he knew. But even more importantly, still to this day, we don't have a national testing strategy. We've never had a contact tracing strategy in the United States of America. We never utilized the Defense Production Act the way it needed to be so that we can get personal protective equipment in the hands of nurses and doctors and police officers and firefighters and those working in long-term care facilities. Sadly, the United States has performed worse than any other of the leading economic nations on this COVID crisis. Over 7 million people have this deadly virus. Over 215,000 people tragically have died. It is so sad. We owe the families of those people an apology for that poor performance, and that is one of the reasons why I think you're going to see a significant change in the White House after this election, because the people of this district are saying, and the people across America, that that this president and his actions have put my family, my children, my grandparents at risk, and that's not acceptable.
Sticking with COVID, Mr. Giles, some of the things you've written on Facebook about the disease, you've attributed a rise in cases in Arizona to an increase in testing. You've said in a July interview that some of Arizona Governor Doug Ducey's actions might be against the Constitution. And you've posted concerns that numbers might be inflated about the disease. How serious do you think this virus is, and do you think it's been used for political gain?
Oh, it's been used for political gain for sure. The virus is serious, and one death is too many. There you go on that. But, we have, warp speed is we've got our manufacturing, our developing vaccines and cures for this as fast as we possibly can. The president's going as fast as he can on this, and he's got the support of manufacturing and pharmaceuticals to do it. You've expressed some concern not only about the federal response, but about the local response, too. You said Maricopa County was slow in spending its money. As a mayor, you were against state overreach into the cities. Do you think that the feds should have put more strings onto how that money was spent locally that was passed in the CARES Act?
Yes, if we were to do it over again, I think there would be more strings, particularly on public health entities like Maricopa County that are responsible for contact tracing in the middle of the pandemic. And so, yes, I was very critical of Maricopa County because I said that in this time where we needed their leadership, where we needed their swift action, they didn't provide that action. We never put a contact tracing system in place, and as a result, this virus, this horrific and deadly virus, was able to spread like wildfire. But I've also been critical of state leaders as well, because Arizona, this district, the district that I represent, had one of the first COVID cases in the United States of America, an ASU graduate student. I've been impacted my own family. My own brother and sister-in-law, sadly, have had this virus. My good friend, Lorenzo Sierra, right now is in a hospital room. He was in intensive care for a long time. He was fighting for his life because of this horrific virus. And we never had a real testing system in place. We were last for such a long period of time. We didn't put a mask mandate in place, which, if you follow the science and not politics, we need a statewide and even a national mask mandate in place. And that's really my critique, is that too many of our leaders followed politics. They didn't want to take on people that they considered part of their political base, and instead kind of took the easy political approach, not the scientific approach. And Arizona got hammered almost worse than any other state in the country because of that lack of leadership.
Mr. Giles, I know you are staunchly pro-life. The cocktail that President Trump was given that seems to have made him much better was developed, according to MIT, using cell lines derived from aborted human fetuses. Do you think it's proper to use drugs that were tested that way?
You're getting into another area on this thing. I know if you died and you donate your organs for somebody to survive, on that concept, I would say it's okay. If it's been, let some life come out of it if it's possible. But right now, our vaccines are ready to get approved and sent out. Our President Trump has got the military ready to deliver it to all of the places that's needed with the PPEs. They're ready to rock and roll. The ventilators are ready to rock and roll. There's nothing more you can do other than wait to get it stamped and approved and sent out. He's ready to rock and roll. One life is too much. I'm sad to hear that we've got so many people. But we're ready to rock and roll on this. And if you have something, if you're a blood donor, if you give your heart, you give your lung, you give your arm, whatever it is when you die, let it be helpful to somebody. So on that concept, I'm thinking that if a baby dies, for whatever reason it would be, that the baby would be happy to contribute something to society, to contribute to another person's life.
Mr. Giles, let's move on to health care. Congressional Republicans and the Trump administration have advocated for at least 3.5 years to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. If you were to win, would you vote to get rid of the Affordable Care Act? And if so, what would you replace it with?
I'm not so sure I'd vote to get rid of it. What I'm in favor of is having an Affordable Health Care Act for everybody, all of us together. We can do that through transparency. We can do that through getting the prices of items out. We can do it through reducing the prices of drugs. We wanted to have, of course, absolutely, pre-existing conditions need to be there. And if you can present to somebody a more affordable option to take than the Obama Affordable Care Act, it's going to fall by the wayside anyway. I don't think you actually have to ban it. If you do a good job on getting a new Affordable Care Act out there, you won't need it. It'll just fall by. And the regulations, if you just stop the regulations that are in that and the massive bureaucracy that's over the top of it, that money could be better used for our people in this virus situation.
Congressman, you've supported the ACA. Are there any tweaks you'd like to see? And are there tweaks that really could have been used to help the pandemic in some sense.
Well, it's important for people at home to know right now the Affordable Care Act is at risk. As you know, it goes before the United States Supreme Court just 7 days after this election. That's why people are so fired up, and rightfully fired up in terms of concerns about what that decision might be, because tens of millions of Americans, including 7 million Americans that were struck by this horrific COVID virus who now have a pre-existing condition, can lose their health care. And our friends on the other side of the aisle have not really put forward an alternative plan. So this is the plan that protects people with pre-existing conditions. Here's what I would do. Here's what I voted to do. I did vote to allow the federal government to negotiate pharmaceutical drug prices so that we could finally significantly reduce the cost of affordable drug prices. And I have voted to continue to support additional resources for cost sharing, which means it would bring down the price of people who apply for the Affordable Care Act. So I support the Affordable Care Act. I want to grow the Affordable Care Act, and I'm very concerned about what might happen before the Supreme Court, where people will lose that coverage, people with pre-existing condition, and there is no plan to replace it. That's why we're fighting so hard.
But are you surprised your opponent said he wouldn't necessarily vote to repeal it?
Well, I am surprised by that, and I'm glad to hear. Unfortunately, the people that he wants to join in Washington, D.C. have voted, the Republicans in Congress have voted dozens and dozens of times to get rid of the Affordable Care Act and have not put any replacement. And they're suing right now, including our Attorney General from Arizona, is on the lawsuit to try to end the Affordable Care Act, end the protections for people with pre-existing conditions. That's not acceptable to me, and it's not acceptable to the people of Arizona District 9.
Congressman, thank you.
We're not going to be throwing the Republican Party is not going to be throwing people over the cliff, as just tried to be made out by my opponent's party in the past. We will insist that you take care of pre-existing conditions.
Okay, all right. And staying with you, I should say, Mr. Giles, immigration. What should be done with Dreamers? What should be done with DACA?
Oh, I got good stuff on that to talk about. I sat in the swearing-in ceremony on downtown Central for over 400 people that were sworn in as new American citizens. My heart goes out. It's glad to see it. I'm glad to see this. We want to bring in immigration people into our country that want to be here, and they want. As far as DACA is concerned, there's 7 things you got to do to become a United States citizen. I won't go through all of them. I'm just going to touch on 2. One of them being your background check, and the second one. Well, let's just start with the background check. Right now, it takes several years to get a background check done. I'm a federal firearms dealer. I get a background check done on any one of you guys in probably less than a minute. That should be taken over, because if you send somebody down to wherever the country they came from, overseas somewhere, they're not going to find anything because they lived here. The second thing is a green card. When you get a green card as a resident, that's where you start with, and they have various time that you have to have it. Some people are 2 years, some people are 5 years. So I would recommend that we waive that requirement, because if they've been here for 30 years, the intent was to see if you're going to be okay to be a citizen in the country. If you're not, then you can go home. But they've been here. They're already citizens. They know the history. They can speak the language.
Okay.
I recommend we can get the DACA recipients. All you got to do is fill out the paperwork, pay the $400, and get done with it, and stop wasting time.
Congressman, fill out the paperwork, do a little background check here. Green card action, and DACA is good to go. What do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Giles is factually incorrect. The president right now is trying to get rid of the DACA program, and that would be a great tragedy for us here in Arizona. You know why? Because there are over 1,000 DACA participants right now working in hospitals to fight for the lives of people suffering from COVID. Could you imagine if the president was successful and he eliminated the DACA program, and those young people that are fighting for us, risking their own lives to support public health, are subject to deportation? Of course I support the Dream and the Promise Act. I did so on the Judiciary Committee in which I serve, and I support comprehensive immigration reform. And no state in the country will better benefit from comprehensive immigration reform. Senator McCain knew this. He was a leader on this issue. No state would better benefit than Arizona when we get this done right.
Mr. Giles, quickly, response?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. They're not going to deport them. They've been here for years. You know, if they're criminals, that's another story when they deport the. But yeah, if you do away with DACA, you're not going to make everybody immediately deportable. They're going to stay here and continue to contribute to society. I want to hand them and help them become citizens and stop all this wandering and yelling and screaming around. Just become citizens and be okay. I prefer citizenship. I want the citizenship for these people. They're near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that Mr. Giles does support a path to citizenship for our dreamers.
The path already exists. It's there now.
Unfortunately, that's not the position of his party, and it's not the position of this President of the United States. If we eliminate that DACA program, those young people risking their lives are subject to deportation right away. And I don't have as much faith as Mr. Giles does that this administration will do the wrong thing. We've seen this with Stephen Miller and the xenophobic policies out of this administration when it comes to not just dreamers, but also legal immigration, which would help our economy, both in the agriculture industry and in the high-tech industry, which is such a big part of Arizona District 9. And that's why we need to make it right by passing the Dream and the Promise Act and passing comprehensive immigration reform. Arizona will greatly benefit from those programs.
Thank you, Congressman. We've got to move quickly to police reform. As mayor, you got the ball rolling on sort of a police accountability committee trying to build the trust with the community. It seems like that trust wasn't built by the time you left the mayor's office. As a congressman, what do you think can be done to build that trust back and to have Black Lives Matters activists believe the government is working to make a police department that governs them appropriately?
Well, first, you said important words, and that is that Black lives do matter. And we have learned a lot from leaders in the community that have sent a message that we need social equity, not just in policing, but in so many other areas as well. Social equity in public education, social equity when it comes to housing and affordable housing, social equity when it comes to access to capital so that we can support minority and women-owned businesses who are too often disadvantaged under the current circumstances, and better social equity in policing. That's why I fought for, as mayor and in Congress, to make sure that every police officer on the street has a body camera. That will do so much to build accountability and trust in policing. In fact, I'm the leader of a bill, the Cops Accountability Act, which says as police departments apply for federal resources for those departments, you can only get those resources if you are actively implementing a full-scale body camera program for your department. I've also voted to end chokeholds by the police department and no-knock warrants, and to have better accountability systems so that police officers that consistently get in trouble can't move from the department to department. So we have better systems in place that are accessible by people, and that will build better accountability in policing.
Thank you, Congressman. Mr. Giles, what would you say to a Black Lives Matter activist concerned about
Let's back up here a little bit on this. I wouldn't throw the police under the bus after the President Trump's rally downtown like my opponent has done. But I support the police. And as far as, the blue laws, I stand by the police.
But again, to reiterate Richard's question, what would you say to a Black Lives Matter activist who does not stand by the police and who has seen what they see as transgressions?
Well, you go back to like what our president has done with the VA. He gave them a choice program. He's made the doctors and staff at the VA accountable for what they've done. Get the rotten apples out. This is what needs to be also done for the police. You can't let them move from one department to another department. If you got a rotten apple in there, somebody's bad that's dragging down the police department, they got to go. That's kind of how you save that part. And as far as, that's where you start to build back some of the rapport that you're going to have with the other communities out there, whether they be Black lives, brown lives, red lives.
So just getting rid of the bad apples in the department?
Get rid of the bad apples is going
that?
to help a lot. And another thing is the support for them. You don't defund the police. And then another point you might want to do, they want to take the money and put it over in some other department for sensitivity training or something. Bring those people into the police department rather than the same force. So when they get a police call to an event, they can bring the police in there and they can bring in special people in there that can help calm down the situation. If that's where the money, you don't defund the police.
I stand for law and order. I think we're in agreement that the vast majority of police officers
are out of time.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry, we're out of time, and we got to wrap it up here. Time for closing statements, and going in reverse order of our opening remarks, we start with Congressman Stanton.
All right. Well, thanks again for having this debate, Mr. Giles. It was great to have a good conversation with you here tonight. The question for people watching this debate is, who do you trust? Who do you trust to fight for you during this horrific COVID crisis to make sure that Arizona has the support and resources that we need to help get through it? Who do you trust to fight for you to protect your health care, particularly those suffering from pre-existing condition? Who do you fight to be an advocate on infrastructure and infrastructure investment or education? The list goes on and on and on. And I hope that you will decide that I'm the right advocate for you. I'm the one you can trust. I do ask for your support so I can continue the fight for the people of Arizona. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now the closing statement from Dave Giles.
I tell you about the degrees I got because I'm technically competent to solve complex problems. I got business experience internationally and domestically, and I have a federal firearms license here in Arizona. The federal government trusts me because of that license. The state trusts me because of my CCW. Local and police trust me because of my CCW. I am trusted, and I'm asking for your trust. I am also a man of God. I attend church weekly. I'm in faith, so I'm asking for your support, trust.
All right.
And your vote. Vote Giles.
All right, there we go. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
On Friday night, Arizona Horizon will host a debate for the candidates for Maricopa County Attorney. We'll hear from Republican incumbent Alistair Adele and Democratic challenger Julie Gunnigal. Easy for me to say. Again, that's Friday at 5 p.m. on Arizona Horizon.
And you can watch this debate again online at azpbs.org, where you can watch all past Arizona Horizon shows as well.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening. Coming up on Cronkite News, the economic impact of adult children moving back in with mom and dad, and later breaking down the art of negotiation.